the Sierra Network then at the National Emergency Operations Center concerning the press conference where the National Emergency Operations Center called. We dey go na the hall now, outside the conference they take place.
The state. Today we have a special press briefing following on from the one that was done yesterday, which the President himself addressed. He did say that NaCOVERC would come up with the regulations and enforcement mechanisms. That is about to be announced now by the National Coordinator of NaCOVERC, Brigadier Kelly Conte. So he will go through the regulations, and after that we shall take some questions. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is an extension of His Excellency the President's press statement yesterday, where he mentioned some ease of restrictions that were imposed some weeks ago. Like I mentioned yesterday, I gave a brief on the inter-district movement of vehicles, but I also promised that I'll come up with the details of the rest of the regulations. And these are the regulations I would like to come up with. We would still continue to ban all traditional practices, meaning secret societies, remain banned. On religious practices, for now they remain banned, but I would just like to add this caveat that we are indeed in receipt of a letter from them to His Excellency the President requesting for an ease in the restrictions, and they've come up with a comprehensive list of guidelines they would like to follow. His Excellency has sent that memorandum to us at NaCOVERC, and we'll be taking a look at it and advise the Presidential Task Force accordingly. On transportation, this appears to be the biggest concern to NaCOVERC and the government as a whole, because with transportation, we know these are the closed areas where the infection can spread very, very quickly if people do not adhere to the protocols. And that is why I would like to pay some attention to this area for those who are in the transportation area to please follow these guidelines strictly, because we would like to enforce them going forward. For taxis, we had asked that taxis limit the number of passengers in their vehicles to not more than 3. And for kekes, we would like to continue to limit the number of passengers they carry to 2, only 2 passengers with them. For all minibuses and buses, we would not encourage standing up of passengers, both minibuses and of course the bigger buses. And the middle row also, we will not tolerate. We would like buses to leave that middle passage open. This is simply to create more space for social distancing as they travel. We would like all transport parks to carry hand washing facilities. In other words, provide water for people to wash their hands, especially when passengers come into those vehicles. You would like them to clean their hands before they board, so that if they have picked up any of this virus from anywhere they are coming from, they would not deposit such viruses in the bus. This is for our own safety. Ferries and boats must carry not more than 50% of their normal capacity of the passengers. And we're expecting them to have marshals on board those vessels to ensure social distancing measures are fully applied. Face masks on all of these vehicles, these transports, must be worn by all passengers and drivers. In all form of public transportation, we do not need to overemphasize the issue of wearing of masks in lorries, in transports, in buses, in taxis. This one will be enforced fully, and we'll ask all motor drivers to comply with those measures. Like the President alluded to yesterday, most of these measures put in place is for the safety of our citizens. And we would urge every one of us to cooperate with the health instructions. These are for our own sake. You may find yourself sometimes not symptomatic at all when you contract the disease itself. But what we are saying, if you are not symptomatic, that does not mean you still do not carry it. And that's why we are asking that everybody protects himself or herself for your family's sake, for those older ones at your homes, and also for the general public. This is something for all of us, and it will require the cooperation of every citizen to make this one work. Now, in some cases, we find drivers with their mask on, and these drivers don't bother with the rest of the passengers in the vehicle. We would like to put this onus on the drivers themselves, that it is your responsibility to ensure that you wear your own mask and ensure that the passengers you have in your vehicles also wear their masks. It is your responsibility to do so. Failing to do so, drivers and passengers, defaulting passengers, will be fined 100,000 leones on the spot. That is for your first offense. For your second offense, the driver and the offending passengers will be fined and or detained, and the vehicle will be seized on your second default. Seized vehicles will be taken to a designated area, and to retrieve them, payments will be demanded at 250,000 leones for motorbikes and tricycles, and 1 million leones for cars and buses. Again, this will be enforced fully by the Sierra Leone police. If need be, the RSLAF might be invited by the Sierra Leone police to support their enforcement efforts. Failure to retrieve these vehicles within a month's time will result in the vehicle being permanently impounded and disposed of. Now, on trade, this is another challenging area, and we would like our traders, people, shop owners, to pay careful attention to the measures in their business. All supermarkets, pharmacies, and shops must continue to adhere to the stringent hygiene measures such as hand washing and application of sanitizers, and also observe strict social distancing measures by ensuring the minimal number of people within their premises. Now, we know sometimes pharmacies open up and they allow all sorts of people to just walk into their premises. You will not be helping the response if you continue to do so. We expect you, therefore, for shop owners, to have your own marshals at your entrance to ensure that the minimal number of people are accepted at every one time within your premises as you do your business. Not more than 20 to 25 customers, for instance, could be allowed at any particular time in a supermarket. Obviously, this will vary by the size of the supermarket. There are some supermarkets that cannot even accommodate 15. So what we are saying here is a reasonable number of people within short market areas to accommodate social distancing and avoid the possibility of spreading any infection if any one of your customers are infected. Shop and supermarket attendants, in other words, those who are working behind the tellers, behind the counters to serve the customers, must wear their face mask at all times. These ones should be enforced by the enforcement agencies, obviously, but we will task other citizens as well to help in the enforcement of this, because whether you are close to an individual or not, contracting the disease by any Sierra Leonean means a risk for all of us. So we are all in this together, and we request that every citizen pay attention to this so that we all adhere to these measures. Shop, supermarket attendants, as I've said, must wear their masks, except if they are behind glasses or plexiglass barriers. We know, for instance, in some banks, you do have plexiglass between the cashiers or tellers and the customers. Those ones may be allowed, but we would urge all of you to wear your face masks. Now, shops, pharmacies that do not adhere to these regulations shall pay a fine of 500,000 leones for a first offense and be temporarily closed if they commit a second offense. Such threats were made before, and I know here in Sierra Leone, people think sometimes they can just decide to flout the instructions of government. We are taking this seriously going forward because we would not like to continue to risk the hazards that have been plaguing us, with many of our compatriots misbehaving or not adhering to the measures that have been put in place. We've asked the Sierra Leone police to put measures in place, put their plans in place to start to implement this as soon as possible. Supermarkets that do not adhere to these regulations shall pay a fine of 1.5 million leones for a first offense and be temporarily closed if they commit a second offense. Now, the time for that temporary closure will be determined by NaCOVERC. And depending on the default itself, we can close it permanently as well until we are done with COVID. No customer should be allowed into a shop, a pharmacy, a supermarket without a face mask worn properly. We find some of our compatriots wearing their face mask. Instead of covering their nose and their mouth, they tend to put it under their chin. Some take it now as part of their fashion to bluff. But this is not a bluff game, really. We want you to protect yourself. In other words, as we say here at NaCOVERC, everybody keep in your jams. You speak and cough and laugh or do whatever, keep it to yourself so that you don't spread it. That's the idea. So everybody keep your own jams to yourself, if you like. Consequently, any shop, pharmacy, supermarket found with customers who do not have a face mask worn properly will pay a fine of 100,000 for each customer for a first offense and will be temporarily closed for subsequent offense. All banks shall ensure they comply with the regulations applicable to supermarkets. In other words, do not allow customers into the banks without their face mask. Also provide marshals at your doors to ensure that minimal numbers of people are attended to at any one time within the premise itself. All local councils are requested to ensure that local markets have hand washing stations placed at strategic locations in the market, and hand washing by customers shall be strictly enforced. We're asking all the councils, local councils, to help in enforcing this. We do not expect the Sierra Leone police to be in every one of these markets, but certainly the local councils do have their reach to all of the markets under their own responsibilities. Both sellers and buyers will be required to have their face masks on while interacting with each other. We are imposing a fine of 20,000 leones for each individual that fails to wear a mask for non-compliance. All periodic market days, that is up-country most times, referred to as lumos on doorways, can resume but shall ensure the same conditions applicable to markets and must be enforced fully. Now, I think we know that in many of our rural areas, the bylaws are strictly adhered to and they are respected. And we ask the people of the country to continue to maintain those obedience to the local laws. Now on entertainment, that is the third critical part of our challenge. And therefore we are coming up with these measures for people in the entertainment industry to adhere with them, all of these measures. All bars and restaurants are required to operate between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. Now you would recall His Excellency announced yesterday that curfew hours now begins at 11. We do not expect a bar to close at 11, and you expect your customers to get home by 11. So all bars and restaurants will close 1 hour before that, meaning all bars and restaurants must close at 10 p.m. Close completely and allow your customers to disperse to get home and out of our streets by 11 p.m. They must also apply social distancing and have hand washing measures stringently adhered to within their premises. Here, the onus of enforcement rests on the owner of the bar, owner of the restaurant. Obviously, the police and other law enforcement agencies will be visiting from time to time, but the onus for this to be adhered to or complied with rests squarely on the owner of the bar or the restaurant. Customers shall not be allowed to sit at the bar in such establishments. Now, this is also coming from our experiences on some of the surveys we've done. It is clear that in a bar setting, if you clog the bar area itself, in other words, close to the bar, if you sit around the bar and people come in to purchase, you're already defeating the idea of social distancing. So we are expecting our compatriots who go to these places to entertain themselves, please find a safe seat in the bar and take your seat, please. Leave the bar itself, leave the stools around the bar for people who go in to purchase and take their own seats as well. All of this is being done to actually clear and have our social distancing complied with. Again, the responsibility to enforce this rests on the bar owner. All staff in bars and restaurants must have their face masks worn properly at all times while attending to customers. Again, we've observed that in some of these bars, the bar attendants themselves don't wear their face masks, and they come close to you to ask for what you want. I think that is defeating the entire purpose. They must set the examples to stay safe, because they will be attending to very many different people coming to their premises. Social distancing in bars and restaurants will require a distance of at least 3 feet or 1 meter between individuals while sitting or standing, and 6 feet between tables. Again, the onus rests on the owner. You space your table accordingly. If you bring your tables too tightly knit together, obviously you are not encouraging social distancing in the first place. All of these ones will be inspected on a regular basis by the Sierra Leone police and the other law enforcement agencies. Bars and restaurants that do not adhere to these regulations shall pay a fine of 500,000 leones for first offense and be temporarily closed if they commit a second offense. All beaches remain closed to mass events. And here we want to emphasize groups that go to beaches and do not adhere to social distancing measures. We find sometimes people leave the bars and restaurants and bunch at the beach itself. This will not be tolerated henceforth. Again, this is for your own safety and the safety for the rest of us as citizens. Now, one might say it is not our business to dictate what you do at the beach with your own body. But I want to tell you that you are wrong. Your own right cannot overturn our own rights as well as citizens. If you catch the disease, you will spread it to somebody else. And that's our responsibility to ensure that you do not do that. And that's why we are asking that behave responsibly when you go to these beaches to enjoy yourself. Nobody will stop you to do that, but please behave responsibly. Social distancing must be maintained throughout. All mass sporting activities remain banned until further notice. And this also includes at the beach. We see people go there and they play soccer, which is acceptable sometimes, but not when you have this crowd around the same vicinity watching the same soccer. It's the same thing. Social distancing must be maintained. Mass congregation, therefore, at sports or video centers remain banned until further notice. Action shall be taken against defaulters. Again, here the responsibility lies in the hands of the owners. Offices. The use of face masks, as has been said severally, is compulsory in all office buildings. Every office building carries out this mandatory wearing of face mask. There is no exceptions in office buildings, public and private, by both staff and visitors. For the staff, I think government has done quite a lot with the ministries, departments, and agencies enforcing it within their own premises. We are urging all visitors to those premises to also wear their masks. Therefore, visitors not wearing face masks shall not be allowed into these offices. Occupants of any room in an office building can only be without a mask if the individual is alone in the room or the occupants are at least 6 feet apart. Now, we will add here that to be on the safe side, please keep your face mask on when you are in an enclosed area. Keep it on for your safety. Now, quite a few young men came at some time to the NaCOVERC to explain that whilst they were positive, they had no symptoms and therefore they don't think they'll be transmitting this disease. Well, of course, the scientists, the medical people have told us that yes, they do. And in some of the cases where we have lost prominent citizens in this country, the disease itself was carried to the homes by the younger ones, who almost always remain asymptomatic. So that's why we are urging all of us, protect yourself at all times. Any private business office that has people without face masks will pay a fine of 500,000 leones in the first instance, and that office or premise will be closed down for any subsequent offense. And this we will enforce fiercely. The office will be closed if you continue to disobey this particular measure. Any government official found to be in violation of this regulation in a public building shall pay a fine of up to 500,000 leones or be suspended from duty. And here we are referring to some of these renegade public officials who think they are above the law. Nobody is above the law. We demand that you wear your face mask at all times, whether you are a public officer or a private person. Now to the inter-district travel. You heard yesterday His Excellency eased the restrictions on inter-district travels and has lifted it, and we announced that we'll be having some measures to control that movement itself. Again, simply in the line of helping all of us to manage the response better. Consequently, The following regulations shall apply to all inter-district travel. Firstly, all vehicles, ferries, boats traveling out of a district shall enter all the names of passengers in the vehicle, will have a manifest that shall include the individual's name, the individual's contact address, and contact number in the originating district, and the general address in the district the person is going to, as well as the person's full telephone number. Now, I know some Sierra Leoneans are in the habit of giving wrong numbers, except where they're expecting money to be sent to them. But they're in the habit all the time to give wrong numbers because they do not want you to trace them. Now, when you do so, you'll be doing a great disservice to your fellow citizens. We would like you to give us your correct numbers, because if we do random tests with the numbers given in the manifest and we find out that you are lying, firstly, you will not travel. Secondly, you will pay a fine of 500,000 leones on the spot. Number 2, the said manifest shall be completed in duplicate. One copy will be deposited at the checkpoint at the departure district, and the second copy at the arrival checkpoint in the district where you are heading. In other words, if you are leaving, for instance, Freetown, to go to Kenema, for instance, the first manifest will be dropped at mile 38, where administration have been arranged for that. And the second list will be dropped just before you enter Kenema. Now, they will decide where their own checkpoints will be. Now, obviously, like we explained yesterday, this is simply to help us track people in the event that it becomes necessary. You would recall, in the past, during this response, we've had very serious difficulties tracing contacts of cases. And that's led to a lot of waste of time, resources, and it also infected other people because we could not bring in quickly enough of those people that have been contacted by the infected person. So we need the full cooperation of every citizen in this regard. Carrying passengers in a vehicle, ferry, or boat engaged in inter-district travel without the passengers' names on the manifest is an offense and will result in the driver being fined and the vehicle detained. In cases, the vehicles will be impounded. Now, I know many times Poda drivers risk doing this. They pick up passengers from Freetown, for instance. By the time they get to Mashaka, they've dropped 2, they pick up another 2. It is the responsibility of the drivers to ensure that any passenger picked up is part of the manifest, because we would like to know exactly the number of people you are taking and where you are heading. Use of face masks by the driver and passengers during inter-district travel is mandatory, like in all commercial vehicles, and violators will face the same penalties as are applicable within districts as outlined previously in my statement. The same regulations on number of passengers in all public transport within districts shall apply to inter-district travels. In other words, we would like you to space your passengers properly to allow social distancing, and all your passengers within the vehicle should have their face masks. Now, like was said yesterday, His Excellency made a passionate plea to all of us as citizens. These measures are not there to hurt any individual. These measures are there to help us fight COVID more efficiently and together as a team. As citizens, we owe it to one another, we owe it to our country to ensure that we defeat COVID-19 as quickly as possible. We are all aware that our resources are limited. Like in many countries, even those countries that are very rich and powerful, far beyond our own reach, are facing challenges. Great, great challenges. And that was why, before COVID came to our shores, we started putting modalities in place. And we're all praying that COVID would never enter Sierra Leone. It did at the end. And we've been fighting since that period to ensure that COVID does not go very far, that we trap it down. We've had mixed level of cooperation and collaboration from our citizens. I think we can do better. For many of those that escaped us was simply because we did not have the full compliance of our citizens. We want to urge that this time going forward, let us all do our very best to comply with these rules and regulations to ensure that we defeat COVID quickly. The measures will be reviewed from time to time to reflect the emerging circumstances, and I would like to note that these measures are focused on simply breaking the transmission chain and to keep our people safe. It is not an invitation, however, to harass our peaceful citizens. If we all obey it, we'll all be home and dry. And please feel free to enjoy yourself, but please let us also do it responsibly and save the rest of us. The lifting of the interdistrict restrictions and adjustment of curfew will have no adverse effect on any person, or community, or district if we all have our face mask on and we socially distance in every occasion. Of course, not forgetting our regular hand washing. Our best protection, therefore, lies in our resolve to take personal responsibility for our safety. We all have this responsibility and we owe it to one another. We'll continue to monitor the broad spectrum of the operations in the emergency response until we strengthen the entire chain. We'll review these measures from time to time and come back to you as a public to let you know the progress we are making. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Coordinator. We will take questions now, and we have with us here some other senior officials in the response. We have Professor Hodesa, who is the head of the technical pillar, Dr. Vandi, who is heading surveillance, the surveillance pillar, and Colonel Bangura, who is leading the security team. So, if you have questions, they shall be answered. Yes, madam.
Good afternoon. Admiral Samai Star Television. Of all that you have mentioned and stated, I know it's not going to be easy, but I want to know how are you going to monitor these different sectors to see that they do what is right? How are you going to monitor?
Okay, thank you. Any other question?
Yes, I'm Nicholas Moses. I work with Fulton Television Network. I don't know whether this claim is aware of an incident that is under the ACC where a military personnel was allegedly holding a money from the driver as a way of compromising the efforts of the national COVID-19 response team. I just want to know what you intend to do with any police officer or military officer who might compromise something in that regard. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Yes, madam.
Aissatou Smile from Sierra Network Press. I just want a clarification on the fine concerning the drivers and passengers that do not comply with the face mask. Is it 100,000 each or 100,000 for both the passengers and the driver? And also concerning the buses, especially at the eastern part, I want to know how effective the monitoring system will be at eastern.
Any more questions? Okay, if not, monitoring. Colonel Idara is in charge of security, so, and then in fact there are two questions. In fact, actually all the questions, we should deal with them.
Thank you very much. In the area of monitoring, I think we have the police who are the primary forces, actually, and the road safety authority that are actually enforcing traffic rules nationwide. They will be positioned at strategic choke points that will ensure that any vehicle that is passing, for example, from Gordy Street towards Eastern, you must go through Upgun Turntable. You'll be there actually at those choke points to monitor and enforce to ensure that people comply or the drivers comply with the directives that have been issued. And the other issue regarding the soldier that was caught in the scandal at the checkpoint, currently is with the ECC helping investigation, and the RSLAF will institute stringent actions once ACC finish with their own investigation in order to save the image of the institution. And I will say not every soldier in the RSLAF is like the soldier that was involved. There must be one or two rotten eggs among the basket. So for those ones, once they show up, is to set them up as examples so that others will see exactly that that is not the way to actually perform your duty as a loyal and professional soldier. And then the last one is, I will refer to the instruction again that the national coordinator read. A driver and all passengers without masks on in all forms of public transportation will be liable to pay a fine of 100,000 or be detained for the first offense. Remember, it is the responsibility of the drivers to make sure that the passengers in the vehicle wear face masks. If the apprentice sees you without a face mask, the apprentice will not allow you to enter the vehicle. So actually, it's the drivers that has the onus to ensure that they enforce the compliance measures. So I don't know if that answers all your questions.
Yeah, I will. Let me add. We have already had engagement with these unions, the keke drivers, Okada riders, motor drivers, which covers taxis, pudas, and they are going to help the enforcement. They have committed that they are going to enforce amongst their members. So police may not even need to do anything. They will enforce amongst their members. If there are some that they cannot control, then the traffic wardens and police will step in. And if those get tired, then the military will step in as well.
Right.
For the offices and restaurants, bars, how are you going to monitor those measures?
Spot checks.
Again, as we said, you see, any of these measures is like putting any law. Laws are there to control our behavior, the way we do things, when you consider the entire population. And we are expected to obey those laws. And not all of us obey them at all times. What we are saying, that we have a responsibility, all of us as citizens, to ensure that these laws are obeyed at all times. I mean, if I walk into a restaurant, for instance, and find it already full, I would not go in there. I'll just walk away to some place else. Yeah, I'll be helping in enforcing that particular measure. But the security forces will take the upper hand to ensure that we do spot check at all times. We may not be everywhere all the time, but when we find any defaulting bar or restaurant, we will impose it. And I hope we'll continue to do so for the first 2-3 weeks. If we close half of them, that's fine. We're prepared to do so. So that's the message we are sending. We will not be in every place, but that's the responsibility also of the owners, and we're expecting them to behave responsibly.
But in addition, we're also calling on citizens to help the efforts. If you notice a bar or a restaurant or a shop around you that is not complying, you have a duty to report. Just report to the nearest police station or the next policeman you see, and action will be taken. So if we all make an effort, first of all, the owner of the shop does not allow people into the shop without masks. That solves the problem. That solves the problem immediately. all his attendants are using masks and nobody is allowed in without masks. That is done. I tell you that even before these enforcement measures are being announced, there are some shops, some pharmacies, some restaurants that are complying.
Yes. Yes.
Many of them are complying. But there are those that either they do not believe that this virus exists, exactly, so they are not taking it seriously. So this is meant to make sure they take it seriously. And if people think that this is an empty threat, let them just wait and see.
Yes, I'm talking about believing or not believing. I want to come back to that. I know some of us have lost very loved ones, close people. And these are people that their deaths really, one would say, is untimely, and it could have been avoided, actually. But because young people in denial, haven't gone out many times, contract this virus, come back home, they are well, they look well, they're good looking, but then they are spreading it in the home. And I know of 2 such senior citizens that have lost their lives just like that. Because a young man or woman in the house, in denial, went out there, did not protect himself, contracted this virus, came home, and spread it to the rest of the family. In some families, the father, the mother, and the grandmother, all of them. And 2 of them died. Of course, the older people, beyond 60, are in great danger. They are the biggest risk. Especially so when they have underlying causes. And they lost family members. And this young person, all that will happen, perhaps small, mild, cold, that's all. Nothing else. For some, they don't even notice the cold. Nothing. Yeah? But then you would have transmitted this thing in the very house. Right? And you would have killed your loved ones. I spoke to a couple of bike riders the other day, just outside my house. And I was explaining this. One of them did not believe. He raised his hand and said he doesn't believe much of this. But I tried to explain to them that no. It is not you now believing or not believing. Maybe you're not watching TV and see exactly how many people are dying in other countries. Now, and people say, well, we are not dying like that here, so it cannot be the same. Well, the simple fact is, in some of those countries, the population of the aged is very, very high. In many of our African countries, our population is really within the young age. So that young bracket is why we are not even noticing it very much. But when it gets to a house where you have older persons in that house, or you have people with underlying causes, you find death will knock at those doors. So we are appealing to this young boisterous population. Please stay safe to save your own family. Save them and save the rest of us. That's all we are talking about. Because when they contract it, they go to the hospitals and they infect the doctors. You see? And then the doctors infect other people coming. Like that. So this is the risk we want to avoid. And we all have a responsibility here to avoid it as much as possible. So that those needless deaths can be avoided.
Okay, just some more information. The response is going to move into another phase, which is active case search. Right now, according to the technical people, the experts, we are doing passive case search. I leave it to them to explain what that means. But we are now going to move into a more active phase, and we are likely to see the number of positive cases rise, because the number of tests that will be done are going to be much more than those that are being done now. So I'll ask either Dr. Vandi or Professor Sato just give a brief explanation of what we are planning to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very much. The virus, as the coordinator rightly said, people tend not to believe that the virus is real in this country because we are seeing fewer cases, we are seeing few deaths. It's as a result of the measures we have put in place to minimize those things. But the risk exists, as you rightly put it. He's not a medical person, but he has put it very rightly. You, as a young man, contract the virus. You may have strong immunity. You are not feeling sick, but you take it home. And you take home to other people who have comorbidities, as you rightly put. The grandparents, the parents, their own. They may have hypertension, they may have diabetes, they have kidney problems and other things. The moment you contract this will aggravate the issues. For you, the young man, you may easily recover, but then you have killed your parents or grandparents. And of course, you are putting burden on the government. COVID response is twofold. We are trying to prevent lives, at the same time to protect livelihood. If it don't affect your life, it will affect your livelihood. We are not saying this because even the restrictions we impose here are very mild. We are not very stringent like in other countries where we are locked up for 2 months or 3 months, you don't go out. It's not like that. That's why people are not taking it serious. It's because of the measures we are put in place. The government is considerate. We don't want to impose extra stress to people. But at the same time, if you comply, if the people comply, if there's maximum compliance, we can bend the curve, we can break the transmission chain. That's all we are asking, say, comply. Don't rely for police officers to run after you to comply. We are not putting this for you for the police officer to fine you. We are not interested in the fines. We are interested in compliance. We want you to comply. If you comply, you help us. Now, as Doc put it, we have been doing passive surveillance. What is passive surveillance? Passive surveillance is when we sit and respond or react to alerts. Somebody call, oh, there's somebody here, I'm feeling cold, I'm feeling that. We send surveillance to go and investigate. That is passive. That when you call us to come out, it's passive. Now we want to go on active case search. Voluntarily testing. We ask people to come forward for testing. We are targeting institutions. We go to institutions, of course, the psychosocial and risk communication, we go and talk to them, explain to them why we are doing this, for them to understand the reason why we are doing it, and they come forward voluntarily to be tested. So when we do that, the more testing we do, the more picture of the virus in the country we know, and that will provide advice to policy making bodies as to whether to open up the economy, or whether to open up schools, whether to open the airspace so that flights can come in. So that is the reason why we want to go on the active case. That will give us the correct picture of where we are with the virus, which is very, very important. We are ready to go. All the other pillars are, even today we have discussed that. We have been discussing it for the past 1 month. Now we are now giving it a trial to start the coming Friday.
Thank you very much. And we have some time, right? Right. Okay. And I think His Excellency mentioned yesterday the question of airports, the question of schools reopening. All of these ones are actively being considered. And as he mentioned yesterday, the aviation authorities through the Ministry of Transport and Aviation and the school authorities are in concert with NaCOVERC, dialoguing on a day-to-day basis, seeing how the issues are going. And at the end of the day, I'm sure government will take the right decision in our interest. Now, some people say, well, other people are opening up and therefore we should open. Well, like was mentioned yesterday, it is not the other people that are dictating our own pace. Yeah, that's why we've never had 14 days lockdown. Other countries have had it. Other countries have had even 2 months lockdown. We did not have that. We said 3 days. Some people laughed at us. Why are you having 3 days? They were crying for 14 days. You know, academics came out and, you know, it's unfortunate that they are not in the decision-making process. So they came up with all sorts of theories that if it is less than this, it's going to be like that. But we did our own based on our own context. And that is why opening of the airport will be based on our own context. Like he's saying, if these efforts now lead us to getting more of these cases out of the way, it will improve on our chances or our decision to open up these spaces. Obviously, we want our country to open up. We cannot be an island. We have to do like others are doing, but we have to measure it first to our own context, what is happening here. Same with the schools. You know, these are young people, they go to these schools, they contract this thing, they may not even feel it. And these are the very young lads that will come into grandma's lab and pass the disease, you know, quietly. So those are all being considered, but in the best interest of the citizens and the country. Thank you very much.
As una don listen to the enhanced regulation where the national coordinator for NaCOVERC don't talk about, as e say, all drivers for public vehicle for make sure say passenger wear their masks properly before they enter inside the vehicle. And also say taxi for continue for take 3 passenger, keke for continue for take 2 passenger, and also advise the buses them for make they avoid the middle road. And also where it be the talk, it say bar and restaurants for open 7 a.m. and close 10 p.m. And also say the bar and restaurants for make sure say people abide to the social distance whenever then they go entertain themselves na the bar and restaurants. Me na I start to smile say until we meet again to another press conference. I say tata. Hello, welcome to this interview. Your name and who that you be?
Mina Superintendent Brahma Kamara, the Media and Public Relations Officer for the Salon Police.
Okay, I go want to make you tell me because yesterday inside the press conference we see the national coordinator for NaCOVERC talk about the regulation where NaCOVERC don't put in place concerning the COVID-19 in the country. First of all, I go want to know if the police aware of that, as he said the police now then get for enforce the law.
Yeah, we are aware. The police are aware. In fact, we get representation on NaCOVERC. And the representation don't make sure say it don't send the document to the police. So and we don't job now for enforce. So now we get for the aspect of enforcement because it cover transport, it cover entertainment, it cover the one the way they operate supermarket and restaurant. So now we get to do the enforcement, and we are grateful that it gets to do with fines as well. You know, so if you go against the law, police hold you. At least police taking a court, they get fined, they get for fine you. So you get for somebody where you look for first offender, what you could be your own fine, whether they go detain you or whether they go fine you, and then the second offender what you could be. So we, as far as we concerned, now this we want. Where this one day is simple for we, because you know the enforced law way, no they now law way they need to enforce. So now that the regulations are out, now we drop down one day, we go do the job for make sure so we enforce them.
So when we get for see the enforcement of this regulation?
It already don't start. But the moment it don't come out, though, it means it don't take effect. So anybody now go against them in the sense, if you do waiting wrong or waiting the regulation say you do something contrary, then it means you don't commit an offense. So you will go on a vehicle, we not get face mask, you know, for mask up, the driver will, the one the way they will not get the mask, they're liable to fine, you know, or they will even be detained. You know, sometimes they will fine you or they detain you. Like if you do it for the second time, then they will either fine you or they detain you. Then but the third thing, they will seize your motor car. They take the motor car from you. So you see, police get power for take the motor car and they go park on a station. They give you time for can't take them. If you can't take them within that time, they pay more. So see, so we said they go pay 250,000 loans for go retrieve your property at the police station, or go pay 500,000 loans for go retrieve your property at the police station. That for you sense. Why not go just take 2,000 loans and go buy a mask? We are go mask up while they go to public, especially where they go inside vehicle. You know, so those are the kind of stuff, and that will be look up to, and we get them. So we get the power for enforce them, and we go enforce them to the latter.
And as you say, according to you say the enforcement don't start, but even today we see drivers and passengers them not they use the face masks.
They stand the risk of being arrested. And talk them again, drivers and passengers stand the risk of being arrested. So my advice to them is go do waiting for do. You know, sometimes people know they read, people know they listen to news, they know nowhere and they get information. We see the week na money. They just keep on hustle. Some man not even know self-regulations and they tell you say if you go somewhere to you get they meet you, they not get a mask, you know, put on, you know, they for finding 100,000. Some man not even know. 2,000 as against 100,000, just look at the difference. And 98,000 difference. So why not go buy the mask and use them? So even you the driver will not get them. Even public vehicles as well as private vehicles, they're supposed for them. And they even get the specification where if for inside vehicle, like say for then keke, what they call keke, not more than 2 person. Taxi, not more than 2 person behind. minibuses. You don't forget that middle row. That middle row, you pull them. So automatically na three for take. You know, all those ones. So when you break them, the law say if they only don't go fine you. So we get something they make reference to now. Now that we want and now that we need. Forget something they make reference to. So since to get what they make reference to, then it means you will not do the right thing. You stand the risk for being arrested.
So how prepared the police be right now for or neither when we get for see the police then get for begin they do more enforcement as they still emphasize on the enforcement because we they see the traffic police them, the traffic warden then they na the streets of Freetown where they see motocar keke, everybody they pass, people they pass without using the face mask and the regulation say anybody where they inside public vehicle for put on the face masks. If you not so that's na 100,000 fine. So when we get for see the police, the traffic warden get for start this arrest. As yesterday, the NaCOVERC don't give out the regulation, but today we see everybody they go on normal like how things used for be.
I'm not talking. I say na immediate effect. So the next thing now we need for brief personnel them. For let them know say this one day now, and then get authority where they go site, where they do their job. And for the road safety corps, where they call traffic warden, where we end and they work together, but let's get them command structure. They belong to the Silo Road Safety Authority. But we all work together collaboratively for make sure say we roads and be very clean in terms of no accident, even if accident they be, but for make sure we minimize accident and make them call road safety. You know, putting the measures in place for make sure say, I mean, people who use the road not go just be involved in accident as the case may be. So going back or going forward, what do we do now? We, the commanders, go back and brief your personnel, tell them what's in the regulations, and put them into action. I shall say within today, tomorrow, all those information will don't pass to who I go to, because you know, information will come one side, or if you don't issue it, you always be very skeptical. You don't get a mate. But the moment the authorities don't pull and say they don't send them say all policemen for make sure say they enforce ABC regulations and they for ABC, they go see all over the country that happen. So we management they do we own for make sure say we continue for cascade the information. The information don't come on now for continue for cascade and so that the last policeman will get them, so that then they go begin for implement now. So that is what is happening.
So why the delay?
It's not a matter of delay. Everything it is administrative. Administrative in a sense. You self only get them sometimes probably today you get them the copy, and if you get a strength of maybe something like 12,000-13,000 people for let issue last man, it's not just like by clicking a finger. You know, not everybody go there on social media at the same time. You know, but we get our own system by which we pass on information. So the authorities they continue for cascade the information to the list man, so that at the end of the day everybody will know say now this for do, and when you do them. And this should expect. So we are working on it. And I should say someone here as I said, they don't begin effect. And like yesterday I was at Malta 38. Now we go there, we not get manifest. Then send them go back. So that is all part of the enforcement. They come, they not get manifest. For sure say now X number of people inside the motorcar and another they come on, another they go. We not get them. And I did it, I still let them send them go back. So they send them go back. So but today me and the Governor President be there. Now another radio program and television program, we say they don't get 500 copies from SLRSA when they print them of them manifesting. So you don't send them all everywhere, and so now then they expect now say everybody today, where they come out with vehicle to travel from one point to another point. So for example, from Freetown to up the provinces, it will get manifest. You know, so the thing happened yesterday. Tuesday, when the president spoke to the public. Understand? Yesterday was Wednesday. Understand? Today Thursday. Everything. So this is it. Information remove. The moment you issue the last person, then everything is okay.
So what about the entertainment area and also the beaches? Waiting on don't put in place concerning that, as we see this BNTM before government they hit some restriction, plenty people don't begin to go now the beach area. So waiting, how not don't prepare for say the social distance be observed now the beach.
The social distance they start with one way they run them business. Instruction they would give them for make sure say they maintain them. So when you not maintain them, like it means now you end up you first begin commit offense. Don't do they want in business. Because they say, if they want in business, if you maintain social distance. So if people come and not maintain social distance, it means now you force them to break the law. Because now you used to push for, they expect policemen for going all the entertainment center there. No, it's not possible. That is not possible, safe. For law going all the entertainment center, we decide, tell people and say, you now you go to the one. No, it's not possible. So you will get the business, now you force to be compliant. Then give time to operate from 7 to 10. Then the beach, that way they go there for go do that jogging. There's still a no-go area in terms of jogging and all the rest of it. So it's that one is the ban still a maintainer. Even though religious body, they maintain the ban. Begging, yes, begging they go beg, but then limited, they get number of the limit and to. Prunado, they get number of the limit and to. Marriage, they get number of the limit and to. So you have to comply. When you not comply, you will get the marriage, you will get the begging, you will get the naming ceremony. Then you begin commit offense. You understand? So you know they expect policeman go there. Now all mine also one do the Prunado. All mine the people the Prunado for the day, then plenty. So man will not even know if in the Prunado. So now you. But we get the information that we go there, we see say things are all right. Now you first. The first person to commit the offense before we can think about other people.
So then fine there. So I'm gonna get for the fine people and also gonna get for the fine the drivers them. I go want for no other than get for the collects then fine there.
Not really fine them now. For fine personal court. Okay, go court. We court the fine, and that money they fine you. It's not to we work, not to police work. We not to NIO work or not, we're not court officials, no. But we get right for arrest you and detain you. Those say they go court, with the expect they go fine at least and they go fine 100,000, if not 100,000. They not go fine above 100,000. They go fine you below. Sometimes if they don't find you below, and they left to them. But I had them put and they say a fine of 100,000. So which means to me, now the limit one day. And I done any trouble for finding. Except otherwise, people when camp and law, people don't get boku interpretation. They go say, well, the 100,000 is not maximum. As far as me concerned, the 100,000 fixed. The one for 100,000 fixed. The one for 250 fixed. They say, they use discretion, so that make them 249,000. They say 250, now 250 fixed. So which means if you go against them, then they hold you, then they take you to court. Now that court get for go fine you. So say if you spend 2,000 loans, now you go spend 500,000. Or you go spend 100,000, or you go spend 250,000. That's the case maybe. Some side way even you go spend 1.5 million, depending to which category you find yourself. So these are the kinds of stuff.
So waiting at the message we go at all, waiting you don't say so.
Let we try as best as possible to be compliant with the rules and the regulations. This COVID-19 is real. Some man if you say not real. Some man still if you say na lalai business. People when they die, it's not lalai. Not to lalai business, not to business. And so let me go by the measures the way government put in place, so that we go done this thing once and for all. People will go about a normal business, Some man be the college and the college business it don't begin shake. It shake now. 3 months in the house. Picking them they go school. Now with the kids I say the way get for take the exam, then they go back and go do 4 or 8 weeks classes for them take the exam. Understand? The other one they don't even determine it when that go happen. So business person don't begin to open up so. Somehow at the monitor we used yesterday, people they say yes, we're glad the president don't lift the restrictions, but we don't eat the market money don't done. So which means business and self get their own problem they go through under this COVID-19. So why we all not go fit make the sacrifice, like go make during the Ebola, we all sacrifice, let we try let this thing done. Let not go by normal business. Let government begin run. Government provide. When government they run, government get investors, people they pay royalties, people they pay taxes. Then government get boku social things there for people who don't go benefit. So let we all just comply, let this thing done once and for all, let we move on to another level. Why we not go make the sacrifice? But people, some man just stubborn. This stubbornness not take go anywhere. It will continue for go behind. Let we want to go before. We want for progress. Let we do everything possible for make sure say we comply with the rules so that we will get the required result. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.